African countries are black with good intelligence, white people have better intelligence, you ask Rwanda. His answer must be different from South Africa 30 years ago. 1/8 of the population died in this country. Western media collectively judge it takes 100 years to recover. 30 years later, his GDP had increased by 13.7 times. Average annual growth of more than 7%. Business environment has risen from 143rd to 38th in the world. More than Italy is capital by the World Health Organization, certified as the cleanest city in Africa. Walking in Paris, the country's army paraded with Chinese slogans. Look to the right. 1 or 2. Neat and uniform, known by foreign media as the African Liberation Army, a 26,000 square kilometers, a small landlocked country slightly smaller than Hainan Island. He has no oil, no outlet, there's not even a proper port. 30 years ago, it was the bottom of the list of poor countries in Africa. How did he manage it? Welcome back to the world, reorganizing the life and death of 80 nations, reading 80 years after World War II. I am the leader Yamgwa. Today, in this episode, we talk about Rwanda, the story of the Rwandan Genocide. We've talked about this before. These are repeated. Let's just talk about one thing. How did the country rise from the ashes? The first mess. Let's take a look at the cards that Kagame took over when he led his troops into Kigali in July 1994. And here's what we saw. The bank vault is empty. The former government took all the foreign exchange before running away. The state civil service has stolen 70% of judges. The police teacher is either dead or has escaped. There are 120,000 people in prison, all involved in the Holocaust. According to the judicial efficiency at that time, the prosecution alone will take 200 years. Half of the country's population are widows and orphans. There are a large number of HIV-infected people left to work. What's worse is geography. Rwanda is landlocked. The nearest port is in Tanzania. Dar es Salaam, 1,500 kilometers. You want to export something to Europe, you have to cross the mountains and walk more than 1,000 kilometers to the seaside. The shipping fee alone will eat 40% of the price of the product. This condition, according to the usual African script, receive United Nations relief, waiting for Western NGOs to distribute relief food. Let the former colonial powers of Belgium and France come back to guide the reconstruction, then slowly rot rotten for 20 or 30 years. Finally, it becomes a second Somalia. But Kagame didn't follow the script. The first thing he did, lock yourself in the office and read a book. He read Lee Kuan Yew's Singapore Story. I read it more than once. After reading, he did the work that kept Rwanda going for the next 30 years. A decision to completely change destiny. This country begins today. Don't learn from Africa. Chapter 2. Governing like Singapore. What does it mean to build roads like China and not learn from Africa? 3 of the problems in Africa are corruption, inefficient dependence on foreign aid. Kagame says corruption won by 1. The game of corrupt African officials is familiar to the world. The president's son mines, the minister's brother-in-law works in engineering, police take to the streets to collect tolls. After Kagame came to power, set a rule for officials across the country: you are greedy for a penny, I arrest you regardless of who you are. Founding fathers of the Patriotic Front. The old brother who fought back from Wugan with him, Minister of Finance embezzlement, arrest his self-promoted defense minister for corruption, dismissal of a close associate of the Speaker of Parliament. All African presidents speak out against corruption. Only Kagame is really caught. Transparency International's Integrity Index, Rwanda consistently ranks among the top 3 in Africa. Then Italy. Greece is clean. Let's talk about inefficiency. Kagame studied Singapore. Why did Singapore become a small port country, become a global financial center? Because of the efficiency of his government. It's one of the tallest in the world. Kagame copied starting a company in Rwanda. 6 hours to complete the full set of procedures. Go all the way up. An ID card is issued in 3 minutes. The whole tax declaration process is electronic. Rwanda is all of Africa the first country to implement e-government. The World Bank's Global Doing Business report, Rwanda ranked 143rd in 2008. Climb all the way to 38th place in 2020, beyond Italy, Belgium, Luxembourg, a small landlocked African country. Better business environment than the core member states of the European Union. Finally, dependence on foreign aid. This is Kagame's smartest move. He understood one thing: Western aid is conditional. Condition pile. There is not much money in the hands of the common people. Kagame doesn't take this set. He turned around and knocked on China's door. The third chapter learns from China. Many people think that Rwanda is learning from China. Just ask for a Chinese loan. Build a China road. That's the skin. What really gets to the essence is three things. Concentrate on doing great things. Special economic zone infrastructure. First, let's look at them one by one. First, concentrate on doing great things. Kagame last Saturday of every month 3-hour national shutdown. Let's have a concerted effort. From the president to the common people. They all took to the streets to sweep the streets. Zaya Shuigu planting trees, building a house for the elderly. Kagame himself took to the street with a broom. 30 years this tradition. The reference is the national voluntary labor in China. He solved a core problem in an African country: national mobilization capacity. Many governments in Africa issued an order: the village below will ignore you at all. Rwanda, by working together, organize the people of the country. Once a month, 30 years down, the capillaries of the administrative system reach every village. The second special economic zone around 2010. Kagame sent officials to China's experience in learning special economic zones: Shenzhen, Suzhou Industrial Park, Shanghai, Pudong New Area, station by station. Squatting a few years later, the Kigali Special Economic Zone was officially open. The template is Suzhou Industrial Park. What are you doing in DC? Undertake textiles transferred from China. Electronic assembly, light industry. China's labor costs rose around 2010. Coastal factories move out. Some of them moved to Vietnam. They moved some of them to Bangladesh. A few moved to Africa. Rwanda is one of them. China's Huajian Group. The sneakers you're wearing, many of them are OEM. We built a factory in Kigali. China's C and H garment factories. It employs over 2,000 Rwandan workers. Even a giant like Huawei, they all listed Kigali as a key layout city. The entire infrastructure from fiber optics to 5G has been laid out. Rwanda's industry has a share of GDP by 2023 from 13% in 1995 to 22%. This is in a landlocked country that doesn't even have a port. It's an amazing achievement. Third, infrastructure first. This is the greatest wealth left by the Chinese. Original roads built by Chinese companies. By July 2024, that's 70% of all roads in Rwanda. The 66-kilometer road along Lake Gwanki would take Rwanda and Tanzania, Burundi, the three neighboring countries of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, are connected. A landlocked country, and for the first time, there was access. The coverage rate of China's Huawei shop is over 95%. First in all of Africa. What about the payment system? Electronic payment penetration in Rwanda, it's close to 70% today. It is one of the most developed countries in Africa for mobile payment. Luzi, learn Chinese WeChat and Alipay. China has become Rwanda's largest source of foreign investment. Confucius Institute in Kigali, 14 teaching sites, 5,000 people learn Chinese every year, 20 times more than in 2009. This is not cultural output. This is the economic signal. Young Rwandans realize if you can speak Chinese, you can earn 30% more. The fourth chapter keeps shouting to the right. Look at one or two African armies. The Rwanda model also has a hidden latitude army. Many people don't know the Rwandan army today, one of the best in all of Africa. July 4th, 2019, 25th anniversary of the liberation of Rwanda. The world saw an astonishing picture. Nearly 2,000 Rwandan soldiers stepping the standard Chinese ascent walk past the review stand. It's not English that they shout out. Not French, it's not Rwandan. It's Chinese. Look right. 1, 2, 22 phalanx, A flag formation, 2 unarmed phalanx, 19 armed formations, all trained according to the operation points of the Chinese army. This scene, it was scrolling social media all over the world. Why is this happening? Because Rwanda's defense construction, we have learned from China's experience comprehensively. It's not about hardware. It is a learning organization. Why can the Chinese army fight? Not because the gun is good, it is because there is a set of cards from the class connecting extended command neural networks. Rwanda put the whole system transplanted into itself, sent people to China's military academies to study systematically. It's not just about cohorts. It's a chain of command. Logistics system, political work system. This is the real secret of Rwanda's defense buildup. Utilize discipline and organization in the Chinese military core experience to bridge the equipment gap. Learned it an army that can fight. What does it mean for an African country? It means two things internally: no warlord dares to rebel, political stability, foreign investors are willing to come abroad. The country has a security barrier. Rwanda is a 26,000 square kilometers inland small country, but his influence in the African region today far exceeds his land area. Economic development and national security, they're always tied together. Rwanda figured both of those things out. Chapter 5. Is this road exceeding? At this point, some viewers may want to ask, Rwanda model is so awesome, is it the perfect African model? Not the way Kagame governs. International public opinion is divided. Some people call it Africa's Lee Kuan Yew, praise him as one of the few strong human doers in Africa. Others say he is too aggressive, control of the country is too tight. But one fact is clear: the people of Rwanda elected him for 4 terms. Every term has a very high approval rating. Why? Because they've been through worse. That April 30th years ago, they've seen hell on earth. People who have been through that, yes. A country that can avoid war for 30 years, GDP increased by 13 times, a leader without thieves in the streets, they vote with their feet. This is the true essence of the Rwanda model. It's not a generic template. It is a unique country made at a special moment, special selection. Kagame himself accepts finance. When interviewed by The Times, said a word: I think it's the finishing touch to the whole Rwandan story. Penn, he said, we're not trying to be the China of Africa here. Poor country, you can become a powerful country by your own logic. This sentence may be the last 30 years the most valuable lesson Africa learned. In next episode trailer. Next season we went to see the #1 country in Africa. He is a man without an army, no neighbors, mineral-free island nation v 100,000 Indians. You built the best country in Africa. The world's authoritative African governance index rankings, this country is #1. The world's most authoritative democracy index rankings, this country is ranked 16th in the world. Higher than the US, the United States is ranked 30th. A small African island that is more democratic and free than the United States. Can you believe I am Yangwa? If you find this episode inspiring for you, like and forward, add a follow me. See you next time.